Welcome to Fish Fighter Products Tech Tip. We're on location with guest Cody Herman, host of Day One Outdoors, and Fish Fighter Pro staffer Chuck Ciccarelli at the Astoria estuary of the Columbia River.
Well, here I am again with Cody. Once more, we're talking anchoring, and we felt we should do another video because there's a lot of guys that are buying this anchoring system that are completely new to it, and they're having some trouble with maybe getting it to perform in its intended way. And I think there's a few things that we could talk you through that could really help you. And one of them will be using some speed to get the buoy
Sure.
to retrieve it. I do want to talk just a little bit, if I could show, once we get this thing put on, is when you get in for this thing to work, what you're counting on is this buoy to slide down the rope, and then it locks on and floats the anchor up. But the only way that's going to happen is if this buoy is building some water pressure behind it. So when you go to take off, if you're idling along, the buoy's just going to float with you. It doesn't build any water resistance. If I could just for a second.
Sure.
If you're just going along, it's just going to float, and this is not going to pull through it. I'll let you hold it, Cody. Mm-hmm. Now, if you kind of gun your boat a little bit, the rope accelerates through this, and you can see the rope sliding through here. Now it's working as intended, and Cody's going to help you a little more with that. You know, he's out here, I don't know how many days you fish on average, but a couple hundred at least.
You bet.
So for a lot of us, you know, that are on the water a lot, I'm not on the water near as much as Cody. Now I've got my rope all messed up. You know, this becomes second nature. And one of my goals when we decided to bring this to market was, I think this is an incredible tool for fishing and boat control, but we got to make sure everybody's using the equipment properly.
Sure, and what's useful about this technique is that you're allowed to get the anchor down before the ball is attached. You know, too many times with some of the older systems, you'd have to hold the pin back so that way the rope could slide through it. People were getting fingers caught.
Yeah, you're holding that back
as
your anchor's running through your hand. So imagine holding the buoy, the anchor
back
retriever holding the boat, and this thing's whizzing by your legs. And
not good. So
that's
we're
all
going to
over.
show you how to get the anchor down quickly, safely. Everything's clean and clear. Once the anchor's down, the boat's set. At that point in time is when we attach the ball. So let's start off. We get a question quite often. How do you attach the rope to the anchor? Why don't you show folks how to tie a quick bowline knot?
Yeah, and I'm going to show you twice. But for me, if you're looking at it like this, it's just an overhand knot or loop. So I just take it and I go overhand. And then this is going to go through the chain. Maybe just hold the loop in the center. Or, yeah, there you go.
Okay.
And you take the rope, and I was always taught the rabbit comes out of the hole, goes around the tree, and then goes back in the hole. And there you go. And there's a bowline knot. And what's nice about this is when it comes time to untie it, you can turn it over, and you push back on this, and that loosens the knot up, and then out it comes. That's why this is called, the bowline is called the king of knots.
Yep, because you're able to, even when it's under a ton of tension, you can still untie it.
Yep, and I see guys fighting with that. But I really encourage you, it's quite embarrassing to be on the water and not be able to do this. So I'm going to show you one more time. It's an overhand loop. You're going to run this in through the chain. The rabbit comes through the hole, out of the hole, behind the tree, and then back in the hole. And then you pull it tight. And now you have a great knot. And again, you can see the knot. You know you've done it right when you can push this backwards and loosen the knot up. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and get this anchor overboard. And you know, I can't emphasize enough wearing life jackets when you're dropping these anchors out. As a matter of fact, as we're talking about it, the Coast Guard's coming over the top of us right now.
Yep, it's out doing a flight.
So we're going to go ahead and drop the anchor. And now we've hit the bottom. And one of the things that's important for you to understand.
I don't know if you're going to be able to
Yeah,
talk.
you might not be able to hear. We're going to pause.
Here comes the Coast Guard right now.
You want to go ahead and film them? Go ahead and film them, Justin.
Off they go. Yep, so while you're letting the line out there too, I like to give it a little bit of tension and help the boat straighten out. There it goes. See how it's bringing the boat around right now? You can see how we're swinging. Sometimes the wind and the currents will make your boat spin around. You always want to keep the rope right off the front of the boat. There we go. Just keep on letting the rope out. And again, it's such a nice deal having that ball sitting on the side. There it goes, perfect, right off the front.
Now, when we're where we want to be, everybody's a little different, but you can use the rope cleat, the jam cleat that comes on our anchor locker, if you can see right here. I like to take one loop around mine, and then I have another quick release back here, and then I use that so I can get loose pretty quickly. You know, I had a near-death experience on the Salmon River a few years back, and it's kind of why I'm very passionate about this anchoring, because you know, everything went wrong in a heartbeat. And now I keep a sharp knife near my anchor rope, life jackets, it's not a game. You know, when you go to a construction site, professional construction workers have hard hats on. It's just crazy that we're not doing this. I also see a lot of people when they're anchoring, there's a lot of activity going on. Everybody needs to be focused, but what's wonderful about our system is we've put the anchor out. Now we're going to put it on the ball. There's no need to get the boat anchored, get yourself composed, make sure your boat's running straight, and then put your anchor rope on. Now, as you can see, this is pointing towards, there's a notch here. You want to make sure this anchor signia is going that way and this is to the boat. And then Cody's just going to push the loop right up underneath here.
There we go. And we drop that little lever down and locks in. And again, it shows you how to use it right there on the front. This side here pointing to the anchor, this side, the rope to your boat. Very simple.
Now, even as we were talking, I actually got us backwards. Sure did.
And hey, the instructions are right there.
Yep.
So we just undo it there. We'll show you one more time the correct way. Okay, we are towards the anchor. Again, you can see it right there. Anchor out off the bow. We'll turn it. So you're going to hold it here just like that for me. Double your line up. Come from underneath. Up over the top. Pull down the lever. Lock into place. Bam, there it is.
And
good to go.
Now we're looking at our rope. It's clearly pointing towards the anchor.
All right, let's get it off the bow.
And now, one thing I like to do is build a little bit of slack in it right before I throw it off. There you go.
Okay,
Ready?
yeah, there we go. There it is, and we'll drop back a little ways. Don't just let out, toss a bunch of rope out and just let it go. It's always about a controlled descent. A little bit of tension. Keep the boat running straight back. Usually about 15, 20 feet is about right. It helps take some of the tension off of the anchor and the boat right there.
Buoy kind of adjust up and down as a shock absorber.
There we are, into the teeth, once around, and then the jam cleat. Bam. There we are.
Now I'll let you go ahead. I'll hold the bag up and.
Okay. Yep, then to secure everything, snap it apart, just like that. A little bit of slack through the hole, double it up. And what that does is it locks it in place here. So if you do need to chase after a fish or you just want to run to the shore real quick, you can easily toss it. Go ahead and let go there for a second, and it'll hold itself right up there. Plus the bottom has flotation, rope won't come out of the bag, and then an extra buoy here for your handhold when you come back to grab it.
Yeah, and the other thing is I see how Cody's got 4 or 5 foot of slack. You want enough slack in it. Here comes some big rollers. You want enough slack in it that when you go to let go and you pull it, that the rope doesn't run tight. You want to make sure you got enough slack here to throw it. I would not disconnect my anchor line until the boat's under power the driver's idling the boat up, and then they get the slack in the rope.
Yep, take some pressure off.
If you're in big current and the current's just ripping and you rip this, it might suck it all right out of your hand or suck you through the mechanism. So make sure the captain's got control of the boat before you release it.
All right, well, let's move on to now the most important part. How do you retrieve it? That's a lot of questions that come through is, this part, a lot of people are used to anchoring, but how do you get that mechanism, that ball to come up and hold tight to that anchor?
Yeah, and what we're gonna go ahead and do is we're gonna put the drone up in the air, and I'm gonna go ahead and drive the boat by, and we're gonna idle by, and I'm gonna make a little bit of a loop just to get around the buoy. And then once I get past the ball, when the buoy is alongside of the boat, then I'm gonna begin my acceleration. And the reason we gotta accelerate, like we talked earlier, is we want that ball to build up water pressure to hold back so the rope can slide through it.
You got it. So before we get set up here, what I always do, again, safety first, is yes, we got it in the jam cleat. Yes, we have it in the teeth up here, but I even like to throw in a couple half hitches onto your cleat.
Absolutely.
That way it's set. Now another thing that I do too before I bring the anchor up is I actually add more rope, more distance between me and the buoy. That allows me to go further out away from the buoy. We want to keep that rope clear of our motors at all time.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and fire up and idle up then before you kick it loose.
So before we start bringing the anchor up, we're gonna let out a little bit of line. Chuck now has control of the boat. So Chuck, I'm gonna give us a little bit of line. We're gonna drop back. That should be enough right there, just to give us enough room to get around the buoy.
Go ahead and flip it over that bow chalk, will you?
Yep, you betcha. So we're gonna lock it in here. Throwing a couple of half hitches. And now we're gonna be getting ready to pull the anchor up. So Chuck is taking some slack off the line. I'm gonna put this over one of the fish finder bow rollers up front. So Chuck, why don't you give me a little bit of forward. And what this does is it keeps the rope off to the side of the boat. We do not want the rope going underneath the boat. There, it caught, perfect. And Chuck's starting to take us wide out around the buoy.
Okay, come on in, Cody, and I'll accelerate a little bit.
Yes, sir. So we're starting to see a loop forming below the buoy. And as we come tight, we're gonna start creating a little bit of pressure. And that pressure is what's gonna make the buoy go towards the anchor. Chuck is now speeding up, and there it goes. So I'm sure you saw the anchor ball go underneath the water. That's when it came tight to the anchor and then popped it up off the bottom. Now what Chuck is doing right now is perfect. He just swung the bow around, keeping that rope away, and then kicked us into reverse. So Chuck just did that perfectly right there. Once you bring it all the way up, you saw the buoy go underneath the water, pop back up. It has the anchor tight to the buoy ball. He spun the back end, the stern of the boat around, and is keeping the rope up off the bow. We do not want this rope going underneath, because whether you have a jet pump like this boat or a prop, it could get sucked up into the jet or wrapped around your propeller. Not good. That's how you get in trouble really fast. So he swung the bow of the boat around. He's holding us right above the buoy, and as soon as I'm ready, he's going to take the power off and let me start picking up the rope. Let's go ahead, Chuck. Okay, now when we get close to the buoy, Chuck is going to slow us down. That way we don't run over top of the anchor. So give me just a little bit of reverse. Perfect, right there. Now what's great about these bow rollers is that even though the buoy ball is right here off the front, you don't need to reach over and grab it. Just pull the whole thing up all the way through the chain, all the way to the anchor, and then that's when you can pull the buoy off the rope. Let's go ahead and do that. There we are. Locked in place. Anchor nest is now locked too. Now watch how easy it is to pull your buoy off to be able to store it. Drop the lever down, create a little bit of slack, back down through, buoy's free, go ahead and put that away. That's how easy it is to pull up your anchor when it's done properly and safely.